Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala, thumma amma ba'd. To proceed, so we will continue to read here. We read only 2 lines. We talked about Sharikat al-Anan and Sharikat al-Wujuh. We read the lines about Sharikat al-Anan and Sharikat al-Wujuh. Sharikat al-Anan is full reign partnership. Sharikat al-Wujuh is credit partnership. And then the Sheikh said, والمضاربة هي أن يدفع أحدهما إلى الآخر مالا يتجر فيه ويشتركان في ربحه. مضاربة or profit sharing, one gives a sum of money for the other to trade with, and the 2 parties share its profit. And that is the one that we're talking about here. It's capital from one side, labor from one side. It's agreed upon by all of them. الربح على ما اتفق الوضيعة على رأس المال. Ribh or profit has to be divided according to their mutual agreement. The loss is on the capital only. The mudarib, the laborer, does not lose anything, but he lost his effort or her effort. So it's enough loss for the laborer that they lost their effort. You know, I've been working on this for 3 months now, and then, we lost like $20,000. I lost my $20,000. You lost your 3 months of work. So the laborer will not be responsible for. When is the laborer responsible for a loss? Sharika is based on wakala. As we said before, wakala and daman, it's agency and guarantorship. We represent each other. I guarantee you, and you guarantee me, and we represent each other. Al-wakil is amin or what? Yad al-wakala, yad amana or ariya, meaning amana. Wakil is amin. A wakil is a trustee. This is a trust versus taking something for your own interest, not mine, your own interest, then you're responsible to give it back to me. You borrow my car, I don't care what happened to it, you're responsible to give me back my car. I leave my car with you, you are a trustee now, you're only responsible if you commit negligence or transgression. If you do something wrong, that's transgression. If you don't do something right or something required, that is negligence. So if you commit negligence or transgression, you're responsible. Sharika is like this. The shuraka among each other, the partners are all trusted by one another. They're all trustees of one another. So unless one of them commits negligence or transgression, he is not responsible. The loss will be the loss of the company, not the loss of that individual, the loss of the company. All of them will share in the loss, including that individual if he's one of the partners. But the mudarib, the laborer here, will lose if he commits transgression or negligence. He will lose, be responsible, be liable if he commits transgression or negligence. Then the Sheikh said, we're done with the mudaraba, right? We're done, I guess, with the mudaraba. Then the Sheikh said, وشركة الأبدان وهي أن يشترك فيما يكسبان بأبدانهما من المباح إما بصناعة أو احتشاش أو اصطياد أو نحوه. كما روي عن عبد الله بن مسعود أنه قال اشتركت أنا وعمار وسعد فيما نصيب يوم بدر، قال فجاء سعد بأسيرين ولم أجئ أنا وعمار بشيء. Abdan, which is labor partnership, but Abdan means what? Abdan means bodies. Badan means body. Abdan, plural of Badan, means bodies. It is called Sana'a, crafts. It's called A'mal, labor. So if you say bodies partnership, it's not going to make a lot of sense. So maybe we should say labor partnership. Labor partnership. So here he says partners share profits in legally permitted work such as crafts, mowing, fishing, and the like, in which they all participate. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud narrates, Ammar, Sa'd, and I became partners in what we would receive in terms of war captives or booty who might be kept, the war captives at the time were kept as slaves, or ransomed for money or goods. On the day of the Battle of Badr, Sa'd then brought 2 prisoners, but Ammar and I did not bring anything or anybody. So they basically, we're not going to go into this, read my appendix on slavery and stuff, but they were fighting on the day of Badr, they were fighting Quraysh, and if you capture someone, that becomes your slave, and the war booty is divided. So they made a company among themselves, Ammar, Sa'd, and Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. They said, we'll join forces here, and whatever it is that we capture or earn, we'll divide it among ourselves. So Sa'd came with 2 captives, and Ammar and Ammar and Abdullah bin Mas'ud, they're softer, kinder, sort of like gentle. So they didn't get anybody. But Sa'd was a warrior. Sa'd is Batal al-Qadisiyya, is the hero of al-Qadisiyya. So Sa'd captured 2, and these are 2 from Quraysh, his relatives anyway. So Sa'd captured 2, and Ammar and Abdullah ibn Mas'ud did not capture any. So they divided the ransom of those 2 among themselves. But then the Hanbalis and the majority, in fact, it's only the Shafi'is. The Shafi'is, we said that they are strictest in terms of partnership. So the Shafi'is do not accept any partnerships except these 2 that are agreed upon, Aynan and Mudaraba, the full reign partnership, and the profit sharing partnership. These are the 2 ones that the Shafi'is accept. So they do not accept wuju, credit, and that's not accepted by the Malikis either. They don't accept abdan. Abdan, which is labor partnership, it is basically labor and labor. There is no capital here. It's labor and labor. These people did not contribute capital. Just whoever captures. By the way, this hadith is weak, but if we accept it from a historical perspective, this hadith of Ammar and Sa'd and Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, it is weak in itself. But if we accepted it from a historical perspective, they based many rulings on it. So labor and labor. And labor and labor is permissible. Let us say in this particular example, we said there an embroiderer and a tailor came together, or 2 tailors came together. Each one of them contributed some capital, whether it is currency or property. Let us say they did not contribute any capital. Just 2 tailors came with their skill, 2 laborers came with their skill into this partnership, did not contribute any capital. They said, we will take work and, or we will do anything else. The Ahnaf did not approve of partnership to go out and chop wood, because wood is mubah, it is permissible for all people. So they said that it cannot be that form of partnership. The Malikis and the Hanbalis also approved of this partnership. But the Hanaf said that it has to be crafts, not basically partnership in a cultivation of mubah. Mubah means permissible here, but it does not mean permissible. It means co-owned by everybody, public property. Everybody is entitled to it. If you go out and chop wood from the forest, no one will tell you, at least during their time, everybody could do this. Or if you mow the lawn or mow the grass and then collect it and sell it to farmers or to cattle owners or something of that nature, that grass is not owned by anyone. Can we have a partnership like this? We work together Whatever it is that we mow, whatever it is that the wood that we gather, we'll sell it, divide the profit between us. Malikis and Hanbalis, yes. Hanafis, no. Hanafis agreed with the Malikis and Hanbalis, if we are tailors and we come and work together, then that would be fine. Not when we go and cultivate something that is public property. What if we are not both tailors? One does, one is a tailor and one is an embroider. Can we come together and make a partnership? The Hanbali said yes. اتفاق الصنعة ليس شرطا. Basically, having the same sana or craft is not a condition. You could have your own craft, I can have my craft, we start a business partnership and everybody does their thing and we divide the profit among ourselves based on whatever agreement we make among ourselves. So this is called Sharikat al-Abdan, and it is labor and labor. There is no capital involved here. And this is permissible according to the Hanafis, Malikis, and Hanbalis. And we said Hanafis with a contingency. Then the Sheikh said, and he stopped now, he stopped talking about the types of sharikat now. Huh? Oh, the time for, we can agree on a time for the partnership. Because when is it that we, I would come to this when I talk about the vision of the Prophet. But the Sheikh here did not mention al-Mufawada. And al-Mufawada is a very interesting type of partnership. Mufawada. You know what tafweed means? Delegation. So you delegate your affairs. We talked about the station of tafweed, in Manazil al-Sayari. Delegate your affairs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So tafweed is delegation. So this is basically mutual delegation. It's full authority partnership. Some forms of it are just really, really sort of risky. It is full authority partnership. You and I, everything that we own, everything that we earn, every liability we incur, we will share it. We'll share it. Certainly, Imam Shafi'i said, if that is not batil, I don't know any batil in the dunya. If that is not invalid, I don't know anything invalid in this dunya. But keep in mind, some other scholars allowed this partnership. The Hanafis and Malikis allowed it. The Hanbalis allowed it. But each madhab has their own conditions. Each madhab. The Hanbalis allowed this partnership, particularly the latter generations. It's controversial among the earlier generations. The latter generations allowed this partnership without one thing. Socialists certainly are so intrigued by this partnership. Right? Well, it can't get any more socialist than this. But the Hanbalis allowed this partnership with a caveat or contingency. It does not include al-kasb al-nadir or rare liability or rare earnings. So if you inherit money, it is yours. That's rare. If you find luqata, if you find the treasure, it's yours. If you hurt someone and you're responsible for the indemnity, compensation for the wound, it's on you, not on me, not on both of us. Aside from a nadir, which is rare, but what is nadir and what is not nadir? You just get into so much complications here with this type of partnership. It's so you either open it all, you know, although I'm Hanbali, but also this exception of a nadir, of the rare earnings and the rare liabilities, can be basis for disputation or contention. So you either make it absolute and accept it, or reject it.
What would be a need?
The need for something like this?
What would be a need for something?
It could be two brothers, two cousins, it could be two friends that just decided that, you know, I'll have your back, you have my back, we're cover you, we're just gonna share everything. Must be like, yeah, share everything. Well, spouses can get into this. It would be, yeah. That has to be a contractual agreement too. Anyway, so that's the mufawada partnership in general. Then the Sheikh started to talk about أحكام اقتسام الربح والخسارة, rulings on sharing profit and loss. والربح في جميع ذلك على ما شرطاه والوضيعة على قدر المال. The profit in all these types of partnership is divided according to the terms agreed upon, and the loss is sustained in proportion to the capital. We're done with this. We said the exception here is what? When it is only capital and capital. Capital and capital. Then the loss, the profit will have to be in proportion to the capital, not as agreed upon. Because it is capital and capital. No labor is involved here. Okay. And then he said, ولا يجوز أن يجعل لأحدهما دراهم معينة ولا ربح شيء معين. And it is not permissible to specify a defined sum of money as the profit of one of them, or to appoint to him or her the profit of a particular thing. So I take the profit of the trousers, you take the profit of the shirts. No. The profit has to be a percentage of the total. You know, your part of the profit has to be a percentage of the total. Not that, you know, I'll get the first $100. No. I will get 10% of my capital. No. I will get the profit of the trousers, you get the profit of the shirts. No. Percentage of the total. Why? Because we have to guarantee equity here. Equity. And we have to make sure that the profit will be shared. And we will have to make sure that no profit without liability. Then the Sheikh said, وَالْحُكْمُ فِي الْمُسَاقَةِ وَالْمُزَارَعَةِ كَذَلِكَ وَتُجْبَرُ الْوَضِيعَةُ مِنَ الرِّبْحِ. The ruling regarding watering for part of the crop and regarding sharecropping is the same. وَتُجْبَرُ الْوَضِيعَةُ مِنَ الرِّبْحِ. The loss is first subtracted from the profit before the profit is distributed. The loss is first subtracted from the profit. What is the term of the company? There is no term. They did not talk about a term for the company. But in mudaraba, for instance, or in general, the ribh, the division, has to be after a tandid. Tandid, the word tandid meaning all the assets of the company turning into currency. That's tandid. Nadda al-mal meaning became currency. So tandid, which is all the capital of the company, became currency. Then, after this tandid, all the capital of the company became currency, then we figure out what is the profit and divide the profit. Because you could be involved in business, you as a mudarib, you could take, I can give you $100,000, you go buy this, you go buy that, you make profit from here, you lose here, and so on. You can't say, every time I make profit, I will share the profit, and every time I lose, the loss is on you. That doesn't make sense. But after we recoup the capital, that is, لا ربح إلا بعد وقاية رأس المال, there is no profit before recouping the capital. After we recoup the capital, if there is more than the capital, I give you $100,000. After 3 months, now all the capital became currency. It's $101,000. We made $1,000 profit. You could have made $10,000 on a particular transaction, but you also lost 9 on another one. So at the end of the day, we will have to recoup the capital, and then we have to divide the profit. But that doesn't work in contemporary companies, because sometimes you never recoup the capital. It never becomes currency, all of it. So that is why it is important in contemporary companies that we agree on a term, that we will make that division every year. It's annual. So what if we come at the end of the year and most of the capital of the company or the assets of the company are in the form of property, not currency? What do? That is when the contemporary scholars, that's Ayofi, they said there's something called tamdid hukmi, which means valuation. We turn it into currency by valuation. Like we presume it's currency by valuation. So we estimate what is owned by the company, and then we decide whether the company made profit or not, and then we divide the profit on such basis. But then it is important here that we agree on a term. Otherwise, it will be difficult. Then
I don't think you mentioned anything about liability for laborers.
The laborer is not liable except for that they will lose their effort. At the end of the day, the laborer will lose their effort. The laborer will become liable, as I said, if they transgress or neglect. Then they become liable for their transgression or negligence. Then the Sheikh said, وَلَيْسَ لِأَحَدِهِمَا الْبَيْعُ نَسِيئًا وَلَا أَخْذُ شَيْءٍ مِنَ الرِّبْحِ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ الْآخَرِ. A partner has no right to sell for a deferred payment or to take any of the profit without the permission of the other. Well, certainly, you don't take part of the profit without the permission of the other. But can we divide the profit before? Can we give like portions of the profit on monthly basis to the contributors? Portions of the profit on monthly basis to the contributors before we actually figure out what the profit is? Well, the classical scholars did not really agree with this. They did not really, address this. Contemporary scholars, because of the need, they said, given that when we sort out the profit at the end of the term of the company, then everybody would agree to return the extra profit that they cashed. So given that this is going to be basically a matter of convenience, but everybody agrees that what matters at the end of the day is at the end of the term of the company, when we do our valuation, we will figure out who is entitled to what. If you are still entitled to some profit, we'll give it to you. But if you cashed more than you actually, your capital or your contribution made, then you will have to return this money. That's Ayofi said that. A partner has no right to sell for a deferred payment because they consider this to be basically a loss, or they consider this to be a suboptimal transaction. You don't sell for deferred payment unless by agreement, unless they agree on this. Unless they agree that you could do whatever you want. We're partners. We will do whatever we want. But if Abdullah ibn Abbas said that al-Abbas, his father, radiallahu anhu, he joined into a mudaraba with someone, and he made a condition that he would not basically take it in sea or sell it or invest in that kabid in rabtba, in livestock, anything that's a living, or sell nasi'a, sell with deferred payment. So you could make conditions for the mudarib. It's called restricted mudaraba, muqayyada. You make conditions for the mudarib. Or you could say to the mudarib, here's $100,000, do whatever you want. in whichever business, sell to whomever you please, wherever you want. And in this case, that would be acceptable as well. And he can sell with deferred payments or cash, whatever they deem to be appropriate for the business. And now, let's finish al-Musaqa wal-Muzara'a, because it is basically the same thing, like al-Sharika. These are different forms of sharikat. These are different forms of sharikat. Sheikh rahimahullah said, Bab al-Musaqa wal-Muzara'a, watering in exchange for a share of the produce and sharecropping. تجوز المساقاة في كل شجر له ثمر بجزء من ثمره مشاعا معلوما. The one last thing that I wanted to say about the sharikat is that the sharika is aqd jaiz in classical fiqh. Aqd jaiz meaning non-binding contract. We can pull out whenever we want. In contemporary fiqh, it becomes a problem if anyone can pull out and dissolve the sharika when they want. So in stock companies, for instance, you can't pull out. You will have to sell your stocks. You can't terminate the sharika. You will have to sell your stocks. And so according to the Malikis, according to many Malikis, the sharika is aqd lazim. According to the vast majority, the sharika is aqd jaiz, non-binding contract. Any partner can pull out whenever they want, unless it causes darar. Because la darar wa la dirar is an overriding principle. There is no harm or reciprocation of harm. But the Malikis felt that it often causes darar, that we should make the default of the sharika aqd lazim. It's a binding contract. And then if you want to pull out, then we will have to agree on the terms of pulling out. It's not like you could terminate the sharika anytime you want. And in contemporary times, you just can't consider it. Would be very hard to consider it a non-binding contract. The Sheikh said, تجوز المساقاة في كل شجر له ثمر بجزء من ثمره مشاعا معلوما. Watering or musaqa in exchange for a share of the produce is permissible with all trees that bear fruit. This is in return for a known percentage of the entire amount of fruits gathered. It is a percentage. So why is it called watering, by the way? Because it's not only watering. You take care of I have an orchard, apple orchard, whatever, or dates, palm trees. And then you take care of it. Why did they call it watering? Because in those lands, the most tiresome, burdensome effort involved is watering. To bring, to water. But that does not mean it's just watering. It's just taking care of the orchard. So you take care of the orchard, and then you take a percentage of the produce. Take care of the orchard, you take a percentage of the produce. That percentage of the produce has to be just a musha'. Musha' means what? It means a percentage of the produce, not a fixed amount, not a predetermined amount, and not a percentage of a particular produce. I can't tell you here this has grapes and dates and apples. I mean, if that ever happens, and you take the profit of the apples, I take the profit of the dates. That doesn't work. It has to be the whole profit, or you take the profit of these 10 acres, I take the profit of these 40 acres. That doesn't work. It has to be all the profit, then we divide it, each one takes a percentage of the total profit for the equity, and to prevent inequity, and to make sure that the profit is being shared by the partners, because that is an important principle. Then the Sheikh said, وَالْمُزَارَعَ فِي الْأَرْضِ بِجُزْءٍ مِّن زَرْعِهَا سَوَاءٌ كَانَ الْبَذْرِ مِنْهُمَا أَوْ مِنْ أَحَدِهِمَا لِقَوْلِ ابْنِ عُمَرَ رضي الله عنهما عامل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أهل خيبر بشطر ما يخرج منها من زرع وثمر وفي لفظ على أن يعتملوها من أموالهم. Sharecropping, which is muzara'a, on a piece of land is done in return for part of the crop, whether one or both of them contributed the seeds. Abdullah ibn Umar narrated, the Prophet ﷺ concluded a contract with the people of Khaybar that they would be permitted to utilize the land on the condition that half of the produce of fruits or vegetation would be their share. Another narration adds that the people of Khaybar should also invest their money in farming it. Okay, so then the Sheikh said, وَعَلَى الْعَامِلِ عَمَلُ مَا جَرَتِ الْعَادَةُ بِعَمَلِهِ. The laborers must do all the work known by custom to be essential for the job. The laborers must do all the work known by custom to be essential for the job. So the difference between muzara'a and musaqa is simple. Muzara'a is crops, musaqa is trees. So if you're taking care of the trees, you're not sowing the seeds of the trees. You're just taking care of the trees. That's why it's called watering. But it's taking care of the trees. But muzara'a, you're doing everything, you know. Now, another difference between musaqa and musaqa, watering and muzara'a, sharecropping, is that with sharecropping there is disagreement, fiqhi disagreement. Who contributes the seeds? Is it and at the end of the day, it's not really that important because they can agree on the profit. They can agree on, you know, the percentage of the profit. So you contribute, I contribute. Here, Imam Qudamah did not use any definitive language in terms of who contributes the seeds. Did not use any definitive language. The latter Hanbalis, they use definitive language. Or somewhat, they still disagreed. It's a very controversial issue. You can't even say the authorized position is such. Because in Muntaha al-Iradat, or in Sharh Muntaha al-Iradat, it is the landlord has to basically contribute the seeds. In Sharh al-Iqna', al-Buhuti supports the position that it does not have to be the landlord. It could be the farmer, or it could be the laborer who contributes the seeds. At the end of the day, we will agree on the percentage. If you are the laborer and you contributed to the seeds, you could get 60% instead of 40%, or 50% instead of 30%. We'll agree on the percentage. Then the Sheikh said, and this is the final thing, and this is a Hanbali peculiarity, and it's a Hanbali gift here. ولو دفع إلى رجل دابة يعمل عليها وما حصل بينهما جاز على قياس ذلك. By analogy, it is permissible for someone to hand over his or her riding animal or to another to work with it and then divide the earnings between them. But it's not limited to a riding animal. Certainly it could be a car, but it is also not limited to that. I give you fabric. The authorized position in the Hanbali madhab is that the capital of the company has to be currency. It cannot even be ard, as it cannot be property. That's not currency. But here, the capital of the company has to be currency. But we said that the Malikis said it could be property. But the Malikis do not agree with this position. So the Hanbalis came back and brought up a position that is pretty interesting here, which is that if you have property, but that property yields profit, it's not just any property. It is a property that could yield profit, that can be used to yield profit, such as what? If you have material, fabric, and you go to a tailor and tell the tailor, make garments off of this, and whatever we sell will be between us. We'll divide this 40-60, or 60-40. That is Hanbali-wise allowable. You can go to someone and tell them, here is my car, whatever, lease it, do this, whatever profit you make, you could drive it, and whatever profit you make, it will be between us, 50-50, 60-40, and so on. This is just like the dabba. In this case, it would be permissible. Now, the Hanbalis came here and made another exception that is interesting, or at least the weaker position in the madhab. They disagreed over this particular driver. If this driver told you, no, I will not take 60/40 because I don't know how much money I'll make. I'll take 30% of the profit and $30 every day. 30% of the profits, $30 every day. I'll drive this car for you, take $30 and 30% of the profit. The weaker position in the madhab is, it is okay. But the authorized position in the madhab is no. But the weaker position in the madhab is pretty interesting, because that is what they all are trying to say no to. You know, because that could result in qata' al-ishtirak fi al-ribh. Because all the ribh that we could make, all the profit that we could make is the $30, and you took it. And now the fact that we're agreeing on a percentage is pointless. But the point that I wanted to say is that there is sort of, whenever there is a pressing need, you will find that there is the fiqh is unsettled, that there is pressure coming from, because there is a need in the market, a popular need. If there is a popular need for a particular transaction, you will find that there will be cracks here and there in the theory, in the fiqh behind it, to accommodate this need. And that's why the contemporary scholars, they said that as long as the two contracts are separate, we could agree on salary and a percentage of the profit if we're agreeing that the two contracts are separate from each other. Now, can the muzara, in sharecropping or watering the trees, can he ask for a certain amount of money? The same rules will apply. Can he ask for, I will take a daily wage or salary, like $30 a day, and then at the end of it, I will take 30% of the profit. The same applies here. And what we can say is, make two different contracts and make the labor sort out the different jobs that he will perform, and give him the $30 for part of the work, and give him the percentage for a different part of the work. In this way, you're having two different contracts, and the subject matter of the two contracts is different. So in this way, you could be fine doing this. Now there are many different types of companies that in our modern times, contemporary times, there are different types of companies. There are stock companies, there are joint liability companies or mutual liability companies, there's limited liability companies. But at the end of the day, what you need to remember, because these are different from these companies, aren't they? They're different. So at the end of the day, what you need to remember is these principles and these foundations. You want to remember that لا لربح ما لم يضمن. There is no profit without liability. Make sure that you apply this. You make sure that partnership means equitable distribution of profit, and you cannot make conditions that will deprive some people of the profit. So if we say, for instance, preferred stocks, they get their profit first before everybody else. Well, that doesn't work in Islamic, in that sort of framework. You make sure that there is no لا ضمان لرأس المال. There is no guaranteed capital. So if we have any form of partnership where the capital will be guaranteed, no. Whenever there is guaranteed capital is called loan in Islam, qard. That is the only guaranteed capital. It is qard, it is loan. Loan, you can't make profit off of loans in Islam because that would be riba. You make sure that there is no ambiguity, there is no jahala, whether the jahala is about the capital or the jahala is about the profit, the jahala is about the subject matter of the contract, the labor that is involved, and so on. You try to remove the ambiguity as much as you can, otherwise you will fall into gharar. And you make sure that ribh is divided after recouping the capital to divide, to avoid inequity and to avoid also gharar. If you make sure of that you apply these principles, likely the company will be fine. Now, we don't, those companies there is no political will in Muslim countries, and even if one country wanted to do it, they may not be able to do it on their own. There is a global community, sort of, and no Muslim country has enough muscle power to basically impose their own sort of framework or regulations or guidelines. Therefore, it requires political will, and it requires cooperation between Muslim countries to come up with models that are applicable, that can be shared, and that will have enough momentum among the Muslim countries that are coming together to basically apply those principles. Meanwhile, the efforts that are efforts of organizations like IOFI and Majama al-Fiqhiyya, the Fiqh assemblies, to do the patchwork that we think is like running inside the train. You will never get to the station before the train gets to the station. And that patchwork may sound like you're running inside the train, going back and forth and back and forth. But you're still on the train. You're just like, so the train is basically the global system. And you're running inside the train, but that's fine. Because if you sit down and you relax, you lose everything. You just keep on running inside the train. Maybe you'll have preferred seating. Maybe you'll have a seating next to the exit, so when the train crashes, you could like jump out. Maybe you could get into the first, the wagon of the train, so that once the train arrives at the station, you could get out, or something of that nature. If you cannot blame people who are trying to run inside the train if you're just sitting there, because it's not like you jumped out of the train. You're still on the train. You're just sitting there and you're comfortable. And that's always the dilemma of the scholars who try to be, who say, classical, traditional, and everything. And so they come up with a set of rules that no one is applying. It's not going to work. And some of the scholars who try to find ways to apply the principles as much as we can, but oftentimes we will have to squeeze them, we will have to modify them in order for them to fit. Both groups of scholars, some of them are well-meaning and some of them are not well-meaning. In both groups, you will find some who are sincere. That is their conviction. Their conviction is, I'm not going to compromise. We're just going to wait until we can do it right. If we can't do it right, we're just not going to do it. Not going to compromise. Those scholars, some of them are well-meaning and some of them are not. The scholars who say, well, we will have to, keep our feet in the water. We'll have to try to figure out ways so that we could apply our principles as much as we can within the constraints of that system, the international sort of global system. Those scholars, some of them are well-meaning, some are not. So it is not which side you're on. It is the motivation behind it. It is whether you are actually seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by this or not. And you could be on this side or that side, seeking the pleasure of Allah or seeking self-interest or some other gain. And that self-interest does not necessarily have to be financial, monetary self-interest. It could be any self-interest. It could be also, if you're traditional, like you're holding on to traditional understanding, classical understanding. It could be also reputation. Could be people's recognition of your strictness or your sort of compromising stances, that is self-interest also. So self-interest is not just limited to monetary gains So, the bottom line is ikhlas. If you have ikhlas, you'll be fine. Whether your conviction leads you to that side or this side, if you have ikhlas, inshallah, you'll be fine. قل قولي هذا استغفر الله لي ولكم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك.